ADHD Babes, the podcast, a podcast hosted by the ADHD Babes community for the community. Please note, nothing mentioned during the podcast is meant as a diagnosis. If you believe you have ADHD, please seek professional advice and visit or join ADHDbabes.com for help with diagnosis. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. And now, you're listening to the next episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast.
Hey babes, and welcome to a new episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. Thank you to everyone who's joined us by listening so far. Don't forget to follow so you never miss an episode, and also rate, review, and share so that others can find us too. Today's episode is hosted by me, Tyler, and today we're going to be discussing plants as a celebration to Earth Day. Joining in on the discussion, we are joined by our guests, ADHD Babes, Jules and Amoyah. So since you've both been on the podcast before, we'll keep the intro short and sweet. Amoyah, let's start with you. If you can give us a quick reintroduction, and of course, do you consider yourself a plant babe?
Hi, I'm Amoyah. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes if I could remember to do the simple things of like watering the plant, but yeah, I do consider on a good day and I'm a plant babe, yeah.
Amazing. And now, Jules, quick reintro from you as well, and whether you identify as a plant babe.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Jules. You've probably seen my face before multiple times. Am I a plant babe? I wish I was. I'm currently not a plant babe. And it's really, I want to be a plant babe. I just am aware of the fact that I'm really crap at looking after plants. So, yeah, I'm here for vibes and learning. So,
Amazing. Right, so let's dive into today's topic, plants on Earth Day. Earth Day started back in 1970 as a response to environmental degradation. It brought millions of people together to demand better protection for our planet. Now it's celebrated globally every April 22nd. In this episode, we're celebrating Earth Day by exploring the incredible roles plants play in our environment and everyday lives. But we're doing this through an ADHD lens, talking about regulation, care routines, and why nature can feel grounding for our brains, even when keeping plants alive feels impossible. For you personally, what does Earth Day mean? Is it something you actively think about, or does it feel a bit disconnected from daily life? Jules?
So when I think about Earth Day and kind of like, I think of like looking after the planet. I think that older, I'm more conscious of like, certain things that we do globally that affects kind of like the world and the impact of the world and the environment and everything. Like I mentioned, the plant stuff, I really wish I was like fully involved, being able to have multiple plants. I can barely feed myself on a good day. So I can't imagine remembering. And when you hear about like all the different plants, like you have to plant it this way, you've got to pot it and unpot it and lingo, I'm like, bruh, like, it's a lot. So who knows? I hope to get there, but I think just kind of looking at Earth Day on a whole, for me, it feels like we have to do more globally to make sure we look after the world.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because it's like there's so many different, like the spectrum of ADHD is so big. Like I've got loads of plants, but like I kind of use those plants as like that's my checking it. Like I've got plants, I've got fish, I've got a tortoise, but the way I like keep myself in my routine, I guess I'm also like on the spectrum for autism as well. But it's like every morning I'll wake up and it's like, right, feed this plant, feed that plant, feed fish, give it this like carbon to put in for the plants, and then also feed the fish pellets. And then what day is it? Okay, it's Monday. So I know that I need to give the ground feeding fish these certain pellets. And then it's like, okay, now I can feed the plant next to it. And then I feed my monstera after that. And then it's like kind of get into the routine. But then also on the flip side, it's kind of like you can have ADHD, as you said, and be like, oh, I can't even remember to feed myself. So why would I get something that is dependent on me feeding it? Even if you've not got plants, to kind of like be aware of the impact that we're all having on the earth because it impacts everybody. Yeah, so what does it mean for you, Amoyah?
It's not, you know what? It depends. I feel like if it's like my hyper focus on plants, it means like, you know, it's just doing your part, of looking after the plants around you. Like trying, like, especially like if you can walk short distances, walk the short distance instead of taking like a car or cycle and whatnot. At the same time, sometimes you forget, like some of my plants, if I didn't like literally have like low maintenance plants, I think most plants would have died instantly. Because sometimes it's just that weird disconnect onto one thing connected to another where I hyper focus or work, and then like you said, like having that routine that you have to do this and you have to do that, and it's on the back of your mind to like water your plants, but then you have all of these other steps that comes in, so it's things like that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I guess it's kind of like being able to keep it up in the long run. I guess like a long-term thing.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm all like, if I'm into something and I get like a new plant, like when I first moved out, I was like, let me get some plants, it'd be really good. But then I go all in with the plants. I had like I bought 17 plants of varying sizes, and then it's like, right, my life is now, okay, wake up in the morning, make sure I turn all the plants so they're getting an even amount of sun throughout the day. At one point, I had like really nice, like south-facing windows kind of thing. So I was like, okay, cool. So all of my plants can go in the kitchen and the living room, like it's open plan. So it's all gets the maximum amount of sunlight. And then my whole day is focused around these plants. And then it gets about 3 months in, and then I'm like, oh, I've not fed them in like 4 months. No, I've not fed not 4 months. I've not fed them in like 3 weeks. Like,
Uh-huh.
but then when I'm in it and at the beginning, I'm like, this is everything to me now. I'm a plant babe. I'm going to do all of this. And then actually, you get halfway down the line, and now it's like, I think I've got maybe, I had to give some of the plants away because when I moved back home, my mum was like, you're not having 17 plants in here. Um, but I've got like, I must have lost about 6 at least. And I've given away 6 or 7. And I've got 3 in the living room that I've got from the beginning. I think that is my maths right. 6, 12, 13. Yes, 4. I've got 1 upstairs and 3 in the living room that I've
Wow.
kept alive since 2021.
That's really good. Because if I'm being honest, like for me, it's it's one of those ones. I got really low maintenance plants. Someone got me like an orchid, and I don't even know how I managed to kill it. Like it just,
Orchids are difficult, I think.
someone said, it was like, oh, this is really no maintenance. You'll be fine. I was like, yeah, sure, okay. I think, and I happened to have killed it, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know if this is for me. Especially this part
It
of my
happens.
time of my life, I'm like, maybe this isn't for me, you know.
I've had other friends be like, how have I killed this orchid? I'm like, maybe it's had too much water. But I was told like, oh, you can give it like an ice cube and then you don't have to worry about it. But I don't know how true that is. I've never bought an orchid because I've just had so many people tell me like, oh, I've had one and then it's died. So I was just like, I can't bother going down that route. But yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's like, I mean, it's classic ADHD in that you get a new hobby, you're just like super into it, and then suddenly you're not into it anymore. And
Mm.
like plants one of those things as well that you can't just not keep it going because obviously it will die. But I don't know, like maybe I've just picked some hardy ones. Like my monstera just keeps on going. Like the number of times it's fallen over and stuff like that. And I've forgotten to water it, and it just keeps growing. Like doesn't matter what's happening. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I can do that. Whether it's a low maintenance plant, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's just plants are actually quite. If you're in it, I think it's fine, but if you're not in it and you're quite forgetful with your ADHD symptoms, then it can be quite difficult, and then it becomes this like massive like grey cloud of, oh, I've got to water my plants, oh, I've got to do this, oh, I've got to look after, like, if it gets pests, how do I sort that out? Now it's more this, more that. Oh, it's growing. Now I need to buy a moss pole. And then the list of tasks keep growing. I think sometimes as well, we just forget how much plants do for us. Do you have any favourite plants or a memory connected to a garden or a green space that's special to you, Amoyah?
I think I do have a favorite plant. It's my monstera plant. It survived everything. It started like a tiny little pot from M&S. So I thought, might not last long, but it's now in a much gigantic pot and it's so huge. And it's like a proud moment, because some days I forget. And what I like about that plant is the fact that the leaves reflect on it. So the leaves kind of like look all down and less waxy if it's not watered enough or got enough sun. It shows like it has emotions in a way that like I could walk into the living room and see, all right, I need to water this plant because this plant is not happy at me. Even like my snake plant, it survived. It was one of my first plants that I've ever gotten like 2-3 years ago, and it's still surviving. It's finally reached a stage where you get those little flowers, so you're doing something right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's things
Yeah.
like that.
Once it starts flowering, it's like, oh.
Yeah. It's like that has a special like place in my heart. I have tried orchids. I did make it survive a year or two, and then one year I just said I can't be asked anymore. It needs too much from me, and I just said if it dies, it dies, which is a bad thing because it's better I said it like that than oh no, it's dying. What should I do? It's one of those ones there. I still have the pot,
and then you're trying to.
But yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one then.
Yeah, you're definitely not the only one. Like, I know so many people that have had an orchid and then it's just like, oh, why has it died? Well, I don't know what you did to it. But yeah, Jules, do you have a favourite plant or a memory connected to a garden or green space that's special to you?
Yeah, so I don't have like a favorite plant, but so I've kind of like lived in London and sort of Essex most of my life, and I grew up in an estate. And then when we sort of moved out into kind of like a house, we had a garden, and I think I was really excited by that. That was like my first ever thing of like, oh, we get to play outside and we have a garden and everything, because my parents were very restricted around kind of like going outside to play on the block. So it was one of those things where now you can actually play in a garden. And I remember getting so excited by the idea of like, oh yeah, you feel kind of like you've come up in the world because now you have a garden in your house. And if your friends are come around, you can play outside. And then we had a swing set. So that's like my first ever sort of core memory of having a garden. And then I had hay fever. And then I became responsible for cutting the grass outside. So the garden then became the bane of my life, because when it became summertime, it was like, yeah, Jules, get the grass cutter, get the mower out, let's cut all the grass. I was just like, what? I've got hay fever. So
No.
it started off like a exciting thing, then it became a thing where the garden became a chore. It became a responsibility, which I didn't necessarily enjoy. That being said, I do know that I want to get to a space where, because I want to be, I've been seeing a lot of like content of people like having allotments and stuff, and I get so jealous being able to kind of like have a little cute allotment and you can kind of see things grow and everything. So I want to get to that place like where I have a space where I can grow like vegetables and fruits. Going back to that innocent child that was really excited by a garden, I want to get back to that place. So hopefully soon
So
come. But
cute.
that was so that was like my sort of kind of like memory of like having a garden.
Yeah, no, that's sweet. So, if we can move on and talk about something specific to ADHD brains, our actual relationship with plants, and I guess that kind of overlaps with what you were just saying. Because here's the thing, like a lot of us genuinely do love keeping plants, but keeping them alive, it's a whole different story. There's object permanence issue, which is out of sight, out of mind. There's time blindness, which is, oh, I watered that yesterday when it was actually last week. And then there's the hyperfixation cycle, buying 15 plants in one afternoon and then completely forgetting they exist, as I had said recently. Have you ever hyperfixated on plants? Gone into deep research, bought loads of them, set up the perfect care routine, and then completely forgotten they exist? Amoyah?
Yeah. In short, yeah. I think Like,
Yeah, same.
I think it's reached a point where I remember when I first got into house plants, and I went into B&Q in the garden center, and I said, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then one time me and my partner went to this like garden center, the one in Alexandra Palace. There's a big garden center there. And again, I want this, I want this, I want that. So this. End up getting peppers, everything. 99% of the plants died, yes. But it was the research. I went through everything. I'm like, oh, what can I grow in a flat? Oh, yeah, I can do this. I can do that. And it's like a cycle where I go to the point that if I have to go to B&Q for other things, I'm not allowed to go into the garden center because everyone knows I'm going to buy something no matter what.
Yeah.
And then it's just that cycle of buying it, forgetting it, buying it, forgetting it. I do have like the plants that are surviving, like my monstera, you know, because at least that is in my face. Snake plant, at one point, I don't think I've watered it for so long to the point that my partner took over the watering for quite a few plants because I would just water my monstera and then forget about the rest. And the rest is around it, by the way. It's like they're all together, but that monstera is just my pure pride and joy. And then the rest is like, if they die,
The others are like, please feed me. You're like, nope, sorry. Golden child only.
So it's like, yeah, it's just that weird cycle. Even like getting to buy books and all of that for it, and just like hoping that one day I will like actually go through it and then hope for the best, you know? But so far, yeah, this hyperfixation's yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's actually a lot. Like the number of like hobbies that I get that I've just put so much money in and then just get forgotten by the wayside, and plants is definitely a big one for that.
Mhm.
It's just absolute tanks my what's the word, bank account. I'm really bad with repotting. I can't but then I feel quite bad because I'm like, oh, it like my monstera's gone really tall. I think I've repotted it maybe twice in like what year are we in now? I got it in 2020. So 6 years ago, and I repotted it twice. And I'm literally just like so bad, like it's terrible planting. But I just can't, it's such an effort and it's so
Mhm.
long, and then it's like there's sand everywhere, there's soil everywhere, and I've got to
Yeah.
put it's just a lot. And then I'm like, it's so big that I'm kind of like I can't do it on my own. So I'm like hugging it, like trying to like get it into the pot again. And then my granddad will come around and then be like, the pot's not big enough. And I'm like, that's the pot it's staying in. And then that's just in it. Yeah, so I can't deal with that. But I do feel bad, and I guess that kind of brings us on to the next point, which is, does anyone have any guilt or shame about like killing plants, or not looking after them in the way that they perfectly are supposed to be cared for? Because it's kind of like, if I can't keep a succulent alive or whatever low maintenance plan I have, what does that then say about me? And how do you handle the guilt when those routines do fall apart? Do you have anything to think about or say on that?
I mean, if it dies, it dies, to be honest. Sad, but we move, innit? Like, legit, we just move. Like, as long as, if,
There's
like,
more plants out there.
exactly, like, you can always try again. Like, there's always different ways of trying, always different types. And, if it's going too much, just give it away. So, like, but that's
You
my
are.
motto. Like, the first time my plant ever died, I was sad, but the second time it died, I was like, oh well, I can buy another one. So I guess that's the issue as well. But yeah, if it
Literally.
dies, it dies. You can just move on. It's not like the end of the world, end all type thing. It's not you. Majority of people have issues
Yeah.
with plants as well. So yeah, for you keeping it alive that amount of time, whether it be a day or a week or even years, it's still like a win in a sense.
Yeah. Congrats to you keeping things
Yeah,
alive and yourself simultaneously, because
exactly.
that's hard. Very hard. Um, Jules?
It's so difficult. I think sometimes I've got to like it's kind of getting out of your head, and similar to what Amoyah say, if it dies, it dies. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
As long as, even though like plants are like living species as
Mhm.
stuff, but I think there's an element of like, yeah, you don't want to, not to sound morbid or anything, but like obviously you don't want to kill your cat, your dog, or your child.
Mhm.
So that in itself, like you've got to make sure to keep them alive. But and you can't just be like, yeah, if it dies, it dies, because but
Got a court case on your hands.
exactly. But I think with plants, there is an element of like, if you, I think for me, it's just kind of just reminding myself that sometimes, yeah, there is a lot like within the brain, our brains itself, like we just have so many things going on. And it's so easy to kind of like forget something because you've hyper focused on something else, or you've got other responsibilities, as well as like, there might be other mental health sort of things that kind of like come about. And so you can't keep on top of everything. And I think sometimes it's just kind of just like, I'm of the mentality of like, I can't come and kill myself, sort of energy. So I think sometimes that is hard in itself, having ADHD. So being able to just look after myself, I think that is a reminder of like, yeah, girl, at least you fed yourself, you bathed, you
Yeah.
tried to brush your teeth,
Exactly.
you getting somewhere, you did something. So,
You got out of bed today.
yeah.
Congrats. Right. It's little wins. And I think again on what Amoyah was saying, it's like, oh, whether you've kept it alive for a day, a week, or a year, like that in itself is a win. So you need to like congratulate yourself for that. Because
Exactly.
some people can't do any of it. So I mean, you have to take the positives from it. And just remember the good times that you had with said plant. But yeah, I mean, also there's a cultural piece within all of this. A lot of us grew up around family who grew food or kept specific plants for hair and skin, aloe vera, for example, or had knowledge about plants that's been passed down. Are there any plants that connect you to your heritage or where you're from, Amoyah?
I guess so. Like, you have your different trees and your different like plants, but one that connects to me is Cersei tea. When I was little, every month, right, we had to sit down as kids and drink a cup of Cersei tea. Now that is the most bitter, most disgusting tea, but my family's Jamaican, so it's a detox. It will like wash you out and everything. But we had to sit there as kids and drink that tea because all the benefits that tea has. And when I was younger, it's like, okay, this is a lot. Like drinking it, and then after would have to give it to one of my brothers who used to like it. We all used to try and give it for him to drink all of ours. But now like growing up, and it's nice to have like a natural kind of like detox in a way. I do it once in a while, and when I start doing it I remember why I don't do it. But it's a nice thing to keep in, that connects to the heritage of like having that monthly detox, like when you with the plants, or having plants, or like fruit and stuff, just eating the fruit, or even just down to spring onions, really, just chopping it off and just regrowing it very quickly and just keep chopping.
Yeah, I guess on the same veins, like I'm also from like my grandparents are from like Jamaica and stuff. So like their whole garden is just like filled with his
Yeah.
loads of plants that we will then use in like soup. And it's like we've got thyme, we've got herbs, we've got carrots, all of this sort of stuff. And then it's like, okay, and then can you go outside and pick this out? Or it's like, okay, cool. And then you come back, it's like, no, that's the wrong one. Go back out. Okay, great, fantastic. And then it's like, actually, you then are creating memories through this. And then you see it in the shop and it's kind of like, actually, there's not the same connection that you have with it. Like I don't grow like actual food, but like my granddad still grows herbs and vegetables and stuff like that. And he's like, "Oh, I got apples this year." Like, oh, great! But then I like see an apple in the shop, and I just like don't have that same kind of like, "Oh, here's an apple. It took this much effort to like grow it." But then I see my granddad's apples, I'm like, "Oh my god, well done! You got really great crop this year!" Like, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's kind of like I think even if the experience that you had with the tea isn't actually like the nicest experience, it still has this like fun kind of memory that you have with
Yeah.
it. But yeah, it's really cute stuff like that. Yeah, Jules, do you have any plants or knowledge about plants or specific food or whatever that kind of connects you to your heritage or where you're from?
No, so not really. When I actually think about it, I wish my family was kind of like had educated me on kind of like plants and growing it and stuff like that. So I'm Nigerian. I even think like when I went back to Nigeria younger, like my grandparents, did they grow anything? I think, yeah, there was like obviously trees around. Like I remember like bananas, the smaller bananas and stuff. But it was never really a thing here. So my grandparents died when I was quite young. I know that with my parents, it was kind of like survival, being first immigrants that came to the UK. It was pretty much that, and it was kind of like being able to still have access to those things from back home. So like certain foods, a lot of like Nigerian food is very leafy. So still having a connection, but when it comes to like growing it itself, not really. And I think that's where I've kind of been like, when I get to a certain age, and I know sometimes you don't have to wait to a certain age, you can just do it now. But I feel like when you feel more grounded, you feel like, yeah, you want to kind of like tap into a side where you can grow vegetables and fruit and stuff. And there's an element of like pride that comes with that, just being able to kind of just have patience, because it takes patience, to grow
Yeah.
stuff. So hopefully I'll get there one day. But yeah, no, not really kind of like when it came to like growing up. And I think that's why I'm like, when I get to a certain age and when I'm in a nice, really warm country and I have a more steady sort of life where I can be like one of those babes that's outside just potting away with like my garden and stuff, then yeah. But now, no.
You can get those little like peppers, like those pepper plants. They're like really
I still think I
easy.
will kill it here.
I did.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Did
Yeah,
you?
Yes. So,
I
Mad.
think I would kill it in this country. I just, and I know we can grow stuff in the
Just
UK.
saying, killing plants in a different country.
I don't think I would kill a plant in a hot environment. Do you know what I mean? A little bit warmer. Do you know what I mean? I also feel like there's an energy that you have when you have good solid vitamin D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just don't know. Like, kudos to everyone that can really do it here.
Yeah.
The sun's not giving. The rain, if it rains too
No.
much, it'll fuck up the. Yeah, nah. I don't know. I'll wait to get to a warmer climate to do it.
Right. Okay. So moving on to a more practical aspect. So aloe vera, for example, is one of those plants that has double duties. It's low maintenance, great for hair and skin. If someone's thinking about starting with plants, is that a good one, Amoyah? And if not, what would you recommend for ADHD brains?
See, aloe vera, right? Low maintenance, yes, but I've killed it. So I don't know.
Same.
It was all going well.
Also an aloe killer.
It was all going well. Like you have it, you're like, oh, you want it for your hair. That was the whole point again. Like it's low maintenance, but you see all those little scraping off the insides, to make your own. Yeah, that didn't work out. And I think that it's because it's kind of those ones where it's very low maintenance, but because it's very low maintenance, you kind of forget that there's still maintenance needed. I think, like, if we're talking about, like, nutrition-wise and there's something that's good recommendation, I say literally mint plants. Mint plants is one of those ones that you have to, like, purposely kill it to kill it. Like, you can have it, right? And it's just there growing everywhere, and you have so much leaves to the point that you're like, why do you need so much mint leaves? But, like, mint is good for, like, your teas and stuff, your mojitos,
You can't get enough mint.
Exactly. So there's a variety. So I think like maybe herbs is like your best starting one, like the little pots that you can get from like Asda and stuff. You water it a little, it start growing. If you're not into like for food, like unbiased, maybe a snake plant or monstera, because it tells you what it needs. Even when you're hyper focused on something else, you can see it and be like, oh, I need to do this. Even if it's like you're drinking water, you're like, oh, and you just pour the rest of the water. to the menstrual.
Yeah.
It's okay. So that's what I
Yes.
think. I feel like aloe vera is kind of like a trick plant. Like it's low
Mhm.
maintenance in theory, but practicality now you can kill that very
Yeah,
easily.
very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think the Monstera is a good one because it gives you, like, the reward. Like, it droops when it's, like, not had enough water, it cries when it's had too much water, and then it's, like, when it gets its new shoots, you're like, "Oh my god, is this one gonna have holes in?" And then
Mhm.
eventually you get one with a hole in, and you're like, "Oh my god, I've done it." Like, I've looked after it to the point where now it's maturing. And also it's so responsive to sun, like, it actually just moves around to follow the sun, which is really good 'cause then you're like, "Oh, right, I have actually been doing something, it is alive." But also at the same time, like, I've had ones when, like, some of the older leaves that I had from the very beginning have, like, come off, and you're like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't want it to get yellow," but then I'm kind of like, "Actually, it needs to get rid of these old leaves so then the new ones can come out." Like,
Yeah.
it's all great. But yeah, I do think that's a good one, and it grows so quickly as well.
Yeah.
Um yeah, Jules, I feel like I should ask you, but you also don't have plants.
I don't. I wouldn't. I'm taking everything you guys are saying, boy. I ain't got a clue.
Can I
I don't
interest
know.
you in a monster?
The way it sounds, the fact that you guys are saying it gets bigger, I don't know, you know.
It's just
I'm,
so cute. It's such a main character energy. Like it is just a main character. You can get really big ones, you get really small ones. You
Yeah.
start with a really small one and then it gets really big. And also like you can propagate it. You can just like cut the leaves off, put it in some water, let the root just grow, and
Yeah.
then just give it to a friend. Here's a new plant for you. But yeah, I do think a monstera is good. Yeah, so moving on, there's this idea called plant blindness, where people just don't notice the plants around them. Have you ever caught yourself doing that? How do you try to notice and appreciate plants in your daily life? Jules.
oh, so yeah. Like I've already said, I have no plants. Um, but that being said, I guess I can kind of like look at it in a lens of like outside of just being plants, just kind of just being environmentally conscious. And I do find there is a sense of blindness when it comes to, for me, and I know sometimes it is kind of like, what's the word? I know the word, convenience.
Mm.
Mhm.
So like, for example, we all know that we love a cheeky Amazon order. I can go
Mhm.
absolutely crazy for a cheeky Amazon order. And sometimes it's convenience. And I know that that's not the greatest for the environment. So sometimes I can get so blinded knowing that I'm like, oh no, I really should be mindful of the things I order and like, you know, maybe avoid Amazon and maybe go to the shops instead. And sometimes I'm like, nah. Amazon's yeah, it's on Amazon, and you know when you know that Amazon just deliver it the next day,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
it's there's an excitement about the fact that you're getting it the next day.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
I could just easily wait if I just go to like a Argos or something. I could just go to Argos down the road, or I can wait 4 or 5 days. But it's the notion of waiting so
Yeah, I'm not
long.
doing that.
Exactly. But
Wait.
I think that sometimes, yeah, I do suffer from more kind of like environmental blindness, where
Mhm.
it's just like because you can't see the horrible stuff that's happening to the environment, you're just kind of
Mhm.
just like out of sight, out of mind. I think all of us are, you know, aware of it, but as
Yeah.
somebody who has ADHD, you kind of just like, I just got so much things in my mind already. I'm not thinking about the environment and the world. Whereas sometimes you're kind of like, no, I need to. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. So it's kind of like me and indoor plants, I notice constantly. Me and outdoor plants, no, I do not have the same connection whatsoever. Like, I've got friends that are like, "Oh my god, I'm just so in love with that tree." Like, I'll just sit and look at that tree for ages. Whereas can't stand trees. I don't like the insects they have on them. I don't like that birds sit and like poo, and then when you walk past the tree, it's just like bird poo all underneath it. It like makes my skin crawl. Like, literally, I have to walk. Sometimes, if there's a tree-lined street, I'd rather just walk in the middle of the road so I can just avoid it. And I'm kind of like, it's so weird because indoor plants, I'm literally like, oh my god, let me buy 500
Mm.
because I just love them. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
I see how you've explained it, like with outdoor like plants and trees and stuff, especially in the autumn when they touch the
Oh,
floors and
no.
it's wet. It's just kind of like
Mm,
ill. Do you know what I mean? So I
yeah.
understand. I really relate because I'm just like ill. Like when I see the wet, I'm like, why have you not cleaned up these leaves? Like it's
Oh,
nasty.
horrific. Or like, oh my God, anything. I'm just like, no. I don't know if it's because I'm a bit of a germaphobe and I'm literally like, outdoor is just, I'm like one of those people like come home and then my shoes are off, my coat is off at the door. And I'm like, right, okay, I need to, before I even like can sit on my bed or anything, I have to change my entire outfit because my outdoor clothes cannot be on the bed kind of thing.
Mhm.
But then I've got some friends that are just like, no, it's cool. Like I'd climb a tree and then get into bed and it's all fine. And we're one with the earth and it's all great. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to be a part of that ecosystem, like my bed. Couldn't think of anything worse. But Moya, have you ever noticed that you've had plant blindness? Do you ever try to notice and appreciate the plants in your daily life?
I think I have a similar issue when it comes to outdoor and indoor plants, but my issue is slightly different. So I have like allergies, skin allergies, especially when I go to the park. It's the worst, like the little pollen and whatever. It's just so bad. So that's already caused me problems. But that's okay. My problem is that with outdoor plants, there's so much issues. Like I thought about, I said, maybe I'd like to get into outdoor plants, but I've realized I wouldn't want to because of all the bugs, like you said. And then you have to
Yeah.
think about you want to grow organic food, but that means there's no pesticides, which means pests still can come over. And yes, you can try natural remedies, but one problem's caused another problem. Compared to indoor plants, you kind of shield from that. I feel like even growing indoors, like there's certain like food and stuff that you can grow indoors or grow like on the balcony. That's great. But it's just the outside element. Like, yes, I do love like how the beautiful flowers, like, in Kew Gardens, you have the beautiful, like different flowers and different like trees and stuff. That's all great. But I don't think I'm a person that can stand there and be like, this tree's really beautiful. Let me find out what tree it is. I'm more like, oh, this is a nice tree and just keep on walking and forget about it. Like it's not something that will stick with me and be like, I wonder what that tree is when I'm home, you know? I feel like that's my type of blindness. If it's right in front of me, yeah, I would say something about it. But more so like I'm more like an indoor plants. That's my love. I would see it and I can like be like, oh my gosh, look at this plant. But yeah.
That's the thing as well. It's like when I was growing up, um, in our garden, we used to have like this plum tree. And it'd be like really great in theory. Like they'd fall down and we'd like pick them off and then we'd like walk around like the neighboring streets, like selling plums to neighbors and stuff. And it's all dead cute. And then we got rid of that plum tree. And then when my son was born, I was like, oh, we should get a plum tree. Like it's really cute. Like it's a nice idea, blah, blah, blah. So got this plum tree. Had it for like 4 years, I think now. 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's not got any plums, but you have to like when it's a baby tree, you have to like really look after it. So I had to buy like loads of mulch and then like I can't remember what it's called, like a mat to put down so it wouldn't get weeds that grow up
Mhm.
on it. And you have to like cut it down and stuff, like if it's growing like branches that are not where you need it to be. So it doesn't like put energy into the lower branches and it keeps growing up taller. But last summer, my mum went outside and she was like, oh, by the way, like I know you need to like prune the tree soon. She was like, there's loads of ladybirds on it. And I said, I'm not going out there. No, sir. No. That tree has not been pruned since 2024, I think. But I'm literally just like, it's not had the mulch change, literally not done anything. So hopefully next year there's no ladybirds and then I'll be able to prune it. But oh my goodness, it's like you have you try and do something and then it's like this tiny thing just
Yeah.
completely derails the entire thing. So I mean, if it grows plums, it grows plums. If it doesn't, then we've just got this random tree that's been planted that's not going to go anywhere. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But the outdoor environment is not for the weak,
Mhm.
is what I've found
Mm.
out. It's not for the weak. So yeah, I'll just be sticking with indoor plants from now on.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, we can move on to something more positive. How can we think of different ways to celebrate Earth Day with plants? What are some simple things that people can do even if they don't have a garden? Jules, do you have any ideas?
Oh, plant. I guess it's just kind of. I think Amoyah, you mentioned it. Taking trips to, like, Kew Gardens, appreciating all the different, like, plants and stuff. There are even kind of like community spaces that really allow for members of the community to come together and do some gardening, just looking after the environment and everything. So those are kind of like cool ways of like celebrating Earth Day around plants. I guess if we're looking at it on a bigger scale and global and looking after the environment, there are just so many different things that we can do. Waste, fast fashion. I still have a long way to go with fast fashion because every so often I do like a cheeky, like, oh, let's put this in my basket from time to time. And I need to reel that in. Also looking at ways we can avoiding plastic. I know that sometimes, everything is pretty much made with plastic. But if we can use reusable stuff, that helps the environment. And then also something that my friend is trying to get me into, not trying to get me into, but I need to get like one of those friend codes, because I get Andrex tissue. And she was like, no, you need to get these really nice natural tissue brands. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a good thing. I guess I could do that. So avoid
Yeah.
using kind of like, because again, sometimes you just
Is
think,
it
oh,
Who
yeah.
Gives a Crap? Is that what it's called? But my old housemate used to get them for the house. And she was like, oh my God, it's so good for the environment. And you get like 40 different rolls and you just get one payment. It's so good. And I was just like, can't imagine buying 40 rolls of toilet paper all at once. I don't have nowhere to I'd have nowhere to put it. But yeah, there's so many different like natural, environmentally friendly
Yeah.
switches you can make for really basic stuff that's actually probably not that great for the environment. I don't know what the costs associated with these things are, but I know they exist.
Yeah.
But yeah, Moya, what do you want to weigh in with on ways to celebrate Earth Day with plants?
I think, yeah, like just visiting like the local gardens, or like, those little local like cafes that have like all of these plants and stuff that they're trying to like encourage people that anyone can grow. Even like in Mayfield, like lavender farm, they have a big lavender farm, and people go and visit there, and they use like all the stuff that they grow, the lavenders, and use it in all their products and create their products that's like more sustainable because it's like from the garden, and the garden goes round and round. Just things like that. Just like simple things like that. But also at the same time, like, don't buy like those like impossible plants for yourself or for other people. Because you do get those awkward moments if someone like hands you this really difficult plant that you have to water 5 times a day, and then you're like, for your own brain. It's just like little things. And if you can like literally buy like vegetables that's not in the plastic, like even like back in the day, pound a bowl, if you can still go to the markets, buy the pound a bowl if they're still pounds. But buy like, that's less like plastic and whatnot. Just those little things that you can do that doesn't like cost too much, because you can sometimes get more value with your pound of bowl, because you can look in the bowl and get the one with like 10 little lemons instead of 5, or if you're cheeky with it. But yeah. Just things like that.
Yeah, I love that. And it's not just about the environment. Gardening and being around plants can be really good for our well-being as well. For ADHD brains especially, there's the sensory regulation aspect. Being around greenery, touching soil, even looking at plants can genuinely help our brain settle. Have you noticed any benefits in your own life? Does it do anything for your focus or how regulated you feel? Jules?
Yeah, so I know for me, now I don't know about this country, but in a warmer environment and the greenery is fresh and the air is fresh, I'm at
Yeah.
peace. I think I just have it's just the UK. I'm not
Jules
really,
needs to
I need to be I need to be on a plane. Now I don't know how that is helping the environment.
Jules
I
will
think
feel
I'm
a
just,
lot better, and that's the main thing.
yeah, I think even kind of like in warmer climates, even in the like in London when it's a lot warmer and the sun is out, and just being outside in the park and just kind of just like it feels really relaxing. I feel like as much as like, yeah, we kind of talked about like our outside plants, I feel like sometimes it's so grounding when you can hear, like especially when the sun's setting and it's quite silent, it's quite still, you can hear the trees like talking, and you know, that
Yeah,
sort of like energy feels like really nice for an ADHD brain, because you're like,
electrifying.
yeah, because you feel like, oh, you feel connected. And because you're allowing your brain to kind of just like hear everything else outside of like the noise that kind of like takes place in your mind.
Yeah.
However, I must say it's nicer to be out of the country. But, you know, if we're talking about the UK,
Yeah. It's also like really nice being switched on to the natural surroundings, but then kind of like being switched off to like whatever's happening, like on your phone or like at work or just in your head kind of thing, to just really like let yourself be in it. But yeah, Amoyah, what about yourself? Have you noticed any benefits in your own life, or does it help or hinder your focus? And how regulated do you feel when surrounded by plants or greenery?
I think I think it depends. Like if I'm like out like on a day out and like I'm around greenery, it's like and it's quiet, like there's not people around. Yeah, it's nice at peace. Sometimes it is chaotic because you're like, if I, for example, look at certain plants in my house, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to water it, but I haven't watered it, but I need to do this. But like like if I look at monstera plant now, it kind of gives me a sense of like achievement because I'm like, look how big it is, like so nice, it's so like growing. I'm doing really well. So it's kind of like it does give that kind of like nice feel in a sense. Sometimes it gives chaos if you're looking at your dying plants, but when you look at like my prized possession plant, then it's like a bit of peace in the mind. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, I get that as well. Like, it's kind of like a nice little pat on the back. You're like, oh, you've done that. Well done. I've
Yeah.
kept this thing alive. It's really great. It's going well. Then you see the dying ones and you're like, oh, sad, sad, cry,
Yeah.
cry, but it's fine. Um, so yeah, sustainability is a big part of Earth Day. A lot of us care deeply about the planet, but executive function can make eco routines really hard to maintain, as we have discussed earlier. The reusable bags we forget, the plants we were meant to water, the good intentions that, just didn't happen. Do you have any tips, either of you, for making plant care or gardening more eco-friendly?
um I think with like plant care in general, I feel like you buy what you need, not buy what you want. And what I mean by that is that, for example, you can buy a plant that's like a nice air purifying plant in your house, make the air feel more fresher, but don't buy like 10 of them. Try to just limit yourself with one, and try and like limit of what you use on it. Like you don't have to overdo it and buy all of these, plant food, these good things. There's like natural alternatives that's really cool.
Mhm.
um, for example, like using eggshells on your plants. If you grind them up, wash them and grind them up, it's a good way of putting on your plants. It's like a natural type nutrient because it's very calcium efficient. So if you have a plant that may need a bit more calcium, or if you leave it a bit tiny bit bigger, it's good to like deter like little bugs and things like that. It's just like little small things like that that you can use in your house. So by using that, it cuts out of you having to go to the shop, buy plant food and stuff. It's kind of like keeping it eco-friendly, kind of like keeping like you have something in the house that you can use instead of other things.
Yeah, that's cool. Jules, do you have anything you want to add to that? Or
I was thinking, and yeah, from just coming off of what Amoyah said, if you do, and I think we kind of said it earlier, like if you do have a plant that you can no longer look after, just giving it out to
Yeah.
someone who can kind of do it rather than just kind of like throwing it away. I'm sure at some point there's people like if you have seeds and stuff, exchanging it with people and those sort of things. eco-friendly because then you're not leaving it in your house or going out to buy something else. So even kind of like swapping plants, something like as simple as that. You know, if you have a circle of friends that's just like, yeah, we're plant babes, let's do this. And you're like, actually, this plant, I don't know if I can do this, you know. Do you have a plant
Can't
that's a
take
little
it
bit
from me.
easier? Do you want to do swapsies?
Mhm.
That could be like a really good thing. So that's a way of having and saving, also saving funds, swapping plants and those sort of
Mhm.
things. So
Yeah, and I guess that's a really good bridge to the final question, which is that plants have a way of bringing people together, whether it's through community gardens, school projects, or family traditions, or friends. Do you have any stories about how plants have helped you connect with others? Jules?
So not yet, but I do have a fond memory as a kid. So I had a teacher, I think I was in like year 3, and I don't know how I've remembered something from year 3. And the teacher's name was Miss Jackson. In school, we used to like growing cress. And
Yeah.
then from growing cress, you then made like egg and cress sandwiches. And that was like my first ever sort of like experience of like growing something and then coming to school and getting excited. So it being the thing that we did on an afternoon on a Thursday and then coming back on the Monday to see how much it's grown has been left on the windowsill in the classroom. And it's got your little name
Yeah.
to say and stuff. And everyone's really excited by it. So I felt like that was such a core memory. Whereas like, you know, hopefully one day I get to that place where I can be that plant babe that I want to be. I no longer have hay fever, which is great.
That's
So I
so
know
good.
that
You
I now
can
have
now.
I can actually do the whole gardening thing. Now I don't have a garden, but it's on the horizons. So yeah, I think, you
We'll
know,
get there,
I would,
baby steps.
yeah, I would like to definitely get to a place where that memory from childhood comes reflective of like being older and then being able to kind of like grow things and then turn it into food and then sharing with like family and friends and like, yeah, I grew this pepper. The salad you're eating right now, it's from my garden, you know? Yeah, all from
These
the
hands,
garden.
guys, these hands.
Yeah, it's from my garden. Oh, do you want some cucumbers? I've got a
Some
couple of
spare.
cucumbers. Yeah. I want to get to that place one day.
No, it's so good. There was an old guy that lived around the corner and he always used to like, he'd knock on every house, like, hi, I've got too much herbs. Do you want some? So cute. Or he'd be like, I've grown too much coriander this year. My mum would be like, okay. And then immediately just be like, I hate coriander, but I can see later. But yeah, it is cute being able to be like, oh, look at this thing that I've done. Now, here you go. You take it. And people can't really say no because it's like, oh, this is your hard work. But yeah, Amoyah, do you have any memories or stories about how plants have helped you connect with people?
Similar, like in primary school we had a cookery club and we had our own like garden, so we went outside, we planted all the seeds, you know, we did the compost as well, we did everything, and just watching it grow over time. And then when it was summertime we saw like all the produce that we got to pick, and it was like even the strawberries, and it was really like an exciting feeling because it's like we did this, we grew it, which was a really cool like thing to like teach, you know, when we're younger, how plants work, the life cycle. Also did the watercress thing as well. And it's just things like that that helps like those little traditions, and it just brings it together, which is really lovely and exciting at the same time.
Was the crest thing a national thing? Like everyone, I feel like everyone did crest. Like maybe it's just because it's really easy. But
It
I
must have been on the
also,
curriculum.
yeah, but
The British school curriculum. This year we're going to learn how
get them
in year
growing
3,
crest.
yeah, get them growing cress and they can make an egg and cress sandwich.
Amazing.
Yes.
I bet they still do it now.
I
Like
know, 2 in 1.
decades of crest people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you both for sharing your experiences and ideas. Before we wrap up, what's one small action you would encourage our listeners to take for Earth Day this year? And Moya, we'll start with you.
I guess like, you know, walk more, or just appreciate like your local like shops that have like the local produce that they have, instead of just like going to the supermarket. If you could, like, do you know what I mean? Because you never know, you might find a gem for really cheap that's cheaper than the supermarket without you realizing, which happened to me like when I go to an organic shop and I need some like tomatoes and stuff end up being, and really good quality tomatoes end up being cheaper than if I went to Tesco and got the Tesco finest. So it's just like looking for things out and like buy what you need.
Mhm.
Once again, like if you really need this like clothing item, then yeah, go for it. But if you don't really need it, like just look at getting in your wardrobe. You never know. You might can like fix it up a bit, you know?
Yeah, you can always rediscover something. But I
Yeah.
always find it so difficult with the buying what you need thing. In my head, I'll go into the shop. I'm like, this week I'm gonna be so good. I'm gonna have this, this, and this, and yeah, I'm gonna buy 5 onions because I'm gonna make chicken. I'm also gonna make a ragu, and then I'll make the ragu. I just won't put any onions in it. And I'm just like, well, now I've got 5 onions, but then I'm like, oh, I can't actually be bothered cutting it up. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, but I don't wanna buy the pre-chopped ones because I just would prefer to chop it myself, but I actually don't have the energy to chop it myself. So then we'll just have no onions in it, and it's fine." And then my mum's just like, "Why have you bought 5 onions and just let them rot in the fridge? They've been here for weeks." Then it's like this whole thing of like, I did mean well. The intention was there. I was gonna
Yeah.
use it. But then you get to a point where it's just like, no. So now I'm just like, you know what? I'll just buy the chopped up Mediterranean vegetables, and then at least I know I'm gonna just open the packet, pour it in. It's probably not as good for the environment, but I'm not wasting it.
Mhm.
But yeah, Jules, do you have any small actions that you would encourage our listeners?
I guess it's going on the plastic. I think recycling, and I know certain councils are really being conscious of people recycling, but I'm trying to do the little things. At first, I was really good at like recycling, like my plastics hair and everything. And because
Mhm.
I've moved from different boroughs, it's been so difficult to know what borough does this and what borough has this. But I think just that's a small start. So like separating your boxes and stuff and putting them on one side, or like having like a recycle bag. That's just a start from the council, and then just popping them in there, taking it out when you need to into the bigger bins is something. And then also, yeah, buying what you need and not what you want. And I think Amoyah said that. I'm talking to
Mhm.
myself too, because I can really be buying stuff where I'm thinking, yeah, I need this, and then afterwards I open it because of the dopamine hit, and I'm like, ah. And then I put it to one side, and then I'm clearing stuff away. I'm like, oh my God, I did not have this. So I need to, yeah, buy
Mhm.
what I need and not what I want. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm constantly buying things, and in my head, I'm like, no, I need this because what I'm gonna do is, oh, so I used to really like making candles, but I don't remember where that candle making set is. So let me
Mm.
buy a new one because this year I'm gonna make loads of candles. And then it gets to
Mhm.
the point, and I'm like, oh, I mean, Christmas is approaching. I don't have any time in the next week to make the candles, but I do have the candle kit now. And then it's like, oh, Christmas has been and gone. Oh, Happy New Year. Have we made any candles yet? No. Okay, cool. So I've just spent £35 on this candle making set. I don't even know where it is. I have no clue where it is, but it's here somewhere, so I can't buy another one. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, well, at least we're not going to do this again. We just have to look to see where it is. But yeah, thanks again for sharing these great little anecdotes and stories and ideas and tips and tricks. So let's recap what was spoken. We've explored the importance of plants for our planet, shared personal stories, and discussed simple ways to make a difference, whether that's planting something new, joining a community project, or just taking a moment to appreciate the greenery around us. Is there anything that you'd like to share about what you've got coming up, or any final thoughts before we finish, Jules?
No, just continue following ADHD Babes podcast. And yeah.
Thank you. And Moya, do you have anything coming up or any final
Um,
thoughts?
Final thoughts is literally, guys, it's okay if you kill the plant. It's understandable. As long as you're keeping yourself healthy, that's step, and drink water.
Mm,
And
hydrate.
mind your business.
Yes.
Exactly. Mind your business. Drink water and
Drink
mind your
water
business.
and mind your business.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Agreed. Well, thank you so much, Amoyah and Jules, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to chat and learn more about you both. Please, would you let our listeners know where they can connect with you? Amoyah, you want to go first?
Yeah, just Instagram really, I guess. Moy _Moy 13R. Yeah.
You want to spell it?
Yeah, it's MOI_MOI 130.
Thank you. To our listeners, if you found a sense of home here at ADHD Babes, please consider supporting us. That could mean signing up as a member, donating, or even just sharing the podcast with your people. Every bit helps us keep doing this beautiful work. Join the conversation on our Discord or WhatsApp group for members. Follow us on socials. And we now have our very own Insta page for the podcast, which is at ADHDBabes.pod, as well as at ADHD Babes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the video version of this podcast, and most importantly, stay connected. We're building this together. Thanks for listening, and see you soon. Bye.
Hey.
Thanks for listening to this episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. If you're a Black woman or non-binary person and need help and support in managing your ADHD or advice on diagnosis, please visit ADHDBabes.com. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. Join us in 2 weeks for a new episode. Until then, all the love from the ADHD Babes team.
Just as I am, can you take me just as I am?